Hi there, welcome to This Week in Gender, where in 10 minutes or less, we talk about gender. My name is Carlos. I'm the manager of online programming and community development at Gender Spectrum.
And my name is Lisa Kenny, and I'm the executive director at Gender Spectrum. So,
Cool, so
this week we're kind of talking about doing something a little bit different.
yeah,
So
for this
one
week.
one topic.
Right,
We both chat about it.
yeah.
All right. So should I kick it off?
Yeah, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Let me. So we were talking. So this came up because we were talking in our offices just about. I had been at a conference this last weekend.
Yes.
It's called the TIES Conference, and it's
Okay.
put on. It was a Virginia conference by Quality Virginia. And terrific conference. Shout out to the EV folks.
Yeah,
that
I heard it
put
went
on,
great.
Yeah, it was a terrific event, and it was really wonderful. And one of the things I was thinking, and then in a couple weeks we have Gender Conference East, which is also a terrific event up in the more northern part. I think it's in Newark this year.
Okay.
So just a lot of exciting stuff, and of course we have our own conference in the summer, which
Yeah.
is really important to us, and we certainly really enjoy and value having that conference. And it got us thinking about the importance of place in a community, and so we started talking about that and thinking about it. And one of the things that we were wrestling with, in part because of your role, which is really looking at online programming, and
Right,
things, which is these conferences give us a place, a physical sense of place. And how important it is to come together and physically be in the same place together, to see one another, to sit down together, to talk about things and work things through, and to find community, to find comfort, to find a conversation that where people understand what we're talking about, and the power of that. And the challenge, of course, is there are the conferences I mentioned. There's a few other conferences here and there. But not everybody has access to a conference. And in fact, many people will never go to a conference. And so one of the things that came up, and it was a great conversation I had with somebody actually from Quality Virginia, got me started on this topic. His name is Joseph. And one of the things that Joseph was talking about was he just made the move from New York to take this new position that he has. And one of the things he was talking about was the challenge in places where there isn't a clear place that people go to, where there isn't a clear community. You have Stonewall and Christopher Street and areas in Greenwich Village in New York. There's the Castro in San Francisco. There are places that have.
There's West Hollywood.
There's West Hollywood in LA.
Right. Boys Town in Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. So there's places that have this, but in most places there is no place like that.
Right.
And increasingly people are living virtual lives. And so what does that mean? Can we create really a sense of place in the same way virtually that we do elsewhere? And of course, youth, that is where they live, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's where they live. I mean, they date online to somebody they've never maybe been in the same physical space with, but they're friends with them.
Right.
They date one another. They have these relationships that are incredibly meaningful. I think adults often want to dismiss them as not as real or something because they don't really understand how this gets played out. But we know that they are in fact real and that they're really important. And so thinking about, so much of what we try to create in a physical place can in fact be created. In fact, maybe in some ways even more so, because I can be exactly who I am and who I want to be online. I may not be able to be so in the physical world. But are we also missing something? Are we also missing the ability to, reach out to hug somebody?
Right,
Are we missing seeing one another, right? Are we missing role models? Are we missing the voices? Are we missing what happens when we all come together in that way? And so, we've been sort of exploring that this week and thinking about it. And so it's a question sort of I offer up to you as I've been thinking about it, and also to our community. And just I would love to hear what other people think about this as well.
Absolutely.
And if so, if we think we can do it, how do we do it? And what parts do we think we might be missing? And what can we do to overcome that so that everybody has a sense of place and community, regardless of where you are?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because there's certain things that I think we all need, right? We all need that sense of touch. We all need that role model. But also, I think it's a generational thing in that, for me, when I was a kid, I remember a very brief period of time where I didn't have computers in my lives. But I guess I'm 28, so I'm slightly on the older cusp of millennials. But I've always known the internet. I've always known digital culture. I've always known what it meant to be online. And early on in my life, as I kind of explored relationships, with friends, intimate relationships, it's been creating a sense of self in a digital space. And to me, who you are online oftentimes is an extension of who you are in person. And I think that for a lot, like you said, for a lot of young people, you really do get to kind of practice a lot of life skills.
Yeah, absolutely,
online, right?
absolutely
So
right.
and in no way am I saying you or Joseph was the person's name.
Yeah, Joseph.
Yeah, it's being dismissive of.
Oh, he wasn't. He was really talking about. But I mean, I think
Oh, I
other
see what you
adults.
mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. He was really. I think Joseph. Just to make sure I give a shout out to him and
Yeah.
I'm fair to him.
Yeah.
No, he was really the one sort of bringing up like, in this move to this thing, he was looking at say in Richmond, Virginia, which is where it was
I
held.
see. Physical meeting spaces.
Physical meeting
Yeah,
space. Unlike
yeah.
when he was in New York or where we are
Right.
in the Bay Area and other places. And I thought, yeah, that's really
Yeah.
true. I mean, what do
Yeah.
you do in that? And so, and I think not Joseph, but I think other adults tend to
Yeah.
dismiss youth as,
It not
in terms
being
of the
real,
importance,
like you
not
said.
being real,
Exactly.
exactly.
But I think, yeah, you're right. In the digital space, you're allowed to have some flexibility because there's so much that you can explore, so much that you can experiment with, and kind of try out for
Yeah.
yourself and see what works. And I think it's become such a crucial aspect of who we are and who we become developmentally, especially the younger we tend to incorporate it into our lives.
Right.
And now,
Right.
babies are holding phones up to their faces as opposed to their ear because they associate a phone with a camera, with FaceTime, as opposed to talking to someone, right? So developmentally, I think when you look at it from that kind of a standpoint, how does that affect people at all stages in life, right? So I think it absolutely creates space. And then going back to your question about this idea of like, are we doing it, and how are we doing it, and are we on point with creating online
Yeah.
You know,
No, I'm totally with you. I was just thinking when you said the thing about the baby, I was thinking, I can't be the only parent in this country who realized like their kid has no concept how to talk on the phone. I was talking to my kid the other day, and then all of a sudden my daughter said, he's not even in the room. I thought, right, because in his world, he's still on his phone walking around with this. Sorry.
Right.
Anyway, I didn't mean to digress.
But I think that speaks exactly to it, right? Like we incorporate technology in ways that works and that's convenient. A lot of parents, iPads and phones help with like keeping children preoccupied, but also they start learning at an early age on these devices. Then it becomes kind of embedded in who they become. But when it comes to creating space and community and culture online, it's about authenticity. Yeah. And I think when you have well-meaning intent and positive intent behind what it is that you're doing and the community and the engagement that you're looking at with people, and you're really kind of genuinely interested in receiving feedback and people actively participating and feeling like they have a voice. And I think maybe selfishly, that we can do it. My job is creating an online community, but I think I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't feel passionately about it.
Absolutely.
And, especially with Gender Spectrum as an organization, we really want to use the platform that we've created to give youth and families a voice, to have an organization back you and say, like, we are here for you and we support you. Yeah. That it feels authentic, and that I think it isn't artificial. And because it's in a digital capacity, I think it doesn't make it less real.
I think so, but what do we do about the other piece? So how do we make up for the other piece of it, which is really that sense of when you go to a place and you look around and you see the many faces of the people that are part of your community, however you define that. There's a power in that. And so I think maybe that's the question to ask everybody. And I'd be really interested if people want to write comments and, and engage in this conversation with us. What do we do to overcome the limitations? Technology brings us so far along the way. And as you say, a lot of really meaningful things. But in the part where we're left, where it doesn't do, I can't reach out and touch somebody, I can't hug somebody. Right. It's hard to sort of get that visual sense and that sense of physical place. What do we do? How can we do that? How can we bridge that? I would love to continue to think about it together, but I'd also really love to hear what people think about that. Because if we get some great ideas, we'll do them.
Yeah, we will.
It's as simple as that. We'll do them. So please let us know your thoughts. And thanks, Carlos, for having this conversation today.
Thank you.
It's good. It's good for us to be thinking about.
Definitely. All right, we will see you next week where we talk about gender, but next week.
But next week.
But next week.
And we'll talk about 2 topics maybe
Yeah.
next week. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Take care. Hi, Carlos here. To keep the conversation going, make sure you join the Gender Spectrum Lounge at genderspectrum.org/lounge. We hope to see you there.